Hey everybody, this is Sean Riley with Riley Real Estate and MassHomesale.com with this week's Q&A Saturday video. This week we're going to talk about or how can I sell a house with a damaged roof. So we've talked about a lot of different issues in the past about problems with the house and if you can sell it with those problems or what issues are going to come up when you try to sell them. And so this is just another one. So a roof obviously is a major component of the house, one of the basic building blocks. You can't really have a house without a roof. And one of the good things is it is, a very resilient, long-lasting component of the house, but it doesn't last forever. Generally, you think of roofs as being like a 30-year type item. So, as they get older, they are going to have more issues. There could be leaks and damage, and they get near the end of their useful life, and that can be that when they do go, it's very problematic, more so than most other things that can happen. So the thing about a roof is there's definitely a large variant in what damage would consist of. Some things, it could just be really old. So, you think of a roof as being about 30 years, maybe it's 29 years old. There might not be any problems with it, but it is definitely getting to where people would consider it the end of its useful life, which is going to be a turnoff to a lot of people who are buying a house retail to live in. Beyond that, you have minor damage. Maybe there was a windstorm or some hail and you have some damaged shingles, but overall the roof is still reasonably young and good shape, and you can just have that stuff fixed pretty easy. And you want to have it fixed because you don't want it to turn into a bigger issue if you do have those kind of issues or problems. Excuse me. So those are things that aren't going to be huge issues. They might come up during negotiations when people are trying to buy the house, especially if it's a very old roof. Like I said, even if it is in good shape, that could be something that could come up, but it's generally not going to kill a sale. Where you do have bigger problems is when you have some more damage. So if you have, especially if the roof is older as well, if you have significant amount of damaged or missing shingles, lots of things curling up or huge amounts of mold growing under them, or moss and mold that are going to have further damage and show that there might be water penetration and stuff like that. Obviously the biggest issue is if you start having leaks. If you have active leaks, you really need to disclose that. You can't hide that fact, and it'll be pretty obvious, obviously, if anybody comes during a time when it's raining, and generally shouldn't be hard for a home inspector to pick this up. And then you have the really bad problems where you have just big gaping holes in the roof, and you have to tarp them to keep it from leaking, and you can look right through and see the sky and stuff like that. Those are going to be huge issues. Not just from the buyers having a problem with them or inspectors pointing it out, but you won't be able to finance houses with those kind of issues. Again, if it's just old and there's no active leaking, you're not going to have a problem. But if there's any kind of leaks, that's going to be an issue for any kind of FHA or VA financing. We talked about this in some articles a while back. We'll link to those below. And that's often going to be a problem with conventional financing too. If you have active roof leaks or holes in the roof or major damage or disintegration, an appraiser is going to pick that up, and they very well could make it so a buyer won't be able to get a loan on the house until the damage gets fixed. Roofs can be pretty expensive. If it's a fairly flat roof on a one-story house with no additional layers, that just has to be taken off and putting a new one on, it could be fairly cheap. If you have a three-story house with all sorts of arches and peaks and weird things like that, and there's three layers on it and significant plywood damage and stuff like that, you could be talking tens of thousands of dollars. So it's a very, very big range on what it could be depending on the size and the difficulty of the job. As always, if you are going to do the work, you certainly want to talk to multiple contractors, get a couple of different bids, and see where they come out. So as far as selling the house, like I said, the biggest issue, unless you have really serious roof problems, are just going to be buyers not liking to have an old roof and are worried about needing to replace it, and basically having a lot of haggling over the price. If there's minor damage, you certainly just want to fix that. Like I said, if you're just replacing some shingles and stuff like that, you're probably only looking at several $100s. If you have major issues, like a lot of the other stuff we talked about before, like old electrical, failed HVAC systems, failed septic systems, stuff like that, link to all those as well. You might not be able to sell it to somebody who needs to get a loan on it, at least not a conventional loan. If they're getting a rehab loan, yes, they can do it. Or if you're going to sell to an investor who gets either a private loan or a commercial loan or just buys it with cash, then you don't have those issues. So that's, again, always an advantage to looking at an investor when there are serious issues with your property. But so that's it. Like anything else, you can sell, even if you do have these significant damages with a bad roof or any of the other stuff we discussed, but it is always going to be a lot harder. Less people are going to want to buy, and less people are going to be able to buy because the financing options are a lot less. Insurance issues can come up, and as I said, just generally an undesirable situation for most people who want to buy a house just to live in. Investors like myself don't care about that kind of stuff. We buy the houses as is. If it needs a new roof, just is factored in when we are figuring out what kind of repairs we have to do. We don't pay full retail price, but you're not going to get full retail price for a place that can't qualify for financing. So as always, if you have any other questions or comments, please leave them below. Try to answer any questions we get. And as always, if you have questions you'd like to see answered in a future video, you can leave a comment below, fill out a form on the website, leave something on our Facebook page or Twitter account, or send an email to info@masshomesale.com. And that's this week's Q&A Saturday video. It's the day before Easter, so anybody who celebrates that, happy Easter, and I'll see you next week. All right, bye.